Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. How are you? Actually, I was speaking and my mic was off, and I realized after some time. Anyways, uh, how are you doing?
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, Bacha. Good morning. So, we'll be, uh, I think today I might be able to end the third unit, but can't say. But there are two topics that I need to discuss. I'll show you my PPT. Um, in my last lecture, we did discuss about. I just have lost my pen. The 1 second, huh? I got it. Yeah. So, last week we were discussing about uh, one of the issues, one of the conflicts that the Security Council faces, and that was Islamization and Islamophobia. So, today we'll be talking about another issue that we are facing as a whole, but Security Council has or United Nations has to deal with this issue also, and that issue is, I hope the slide is visible to you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you can see on the screen that the issue that we are facing or the UN has to deal with, or the conflict, it is not a conflict, it's basically an issue. It is of climate change. So this issue deals with the environment. So first issue was ideological, differences, and this third issue that I'll be dealing with is related to economy. All right. So now moving forward, climate change and why it is a threat to civilization. 1 second. Huh? Okay. See, ever since the onset of the Industrial Revolution, we have seen that there had been lot of changes that we actually have forced the environment to go through because of our greedy needs. Okay, because of industrialization which happened in the late 17th century in Europe, from then onwards, like, there had been no stopping to mankind from getting more and more advanced in technology and industries. But somebody has to pay a price. For everything, we have to pay a price. And that price is paid by a change in the climate. All right. Earlier, people used to, fall sick only because of certain epidemic or pandemic. Nowadays, we are continuously seeing droughts and floods and, you know, global warming and so many other issues. So it has gone to that extent that now it has become a threat. Threat to, I would not, this is even a small word, we should say it is a threat to mankind as a whole, because nobody is spared. When there is a climate change, for example, if the oceans, they, no, for example, if there is a global warming, I'll write it here. Because of the global warming, what will happen? The ice in the glaciers or the ice in Antarctica or Arctic region, that is going to melt, and that is going to rise the level of ocean. Once these ocean levels they rises, many coastal cities coastal cities will be submerged in water. Already, if you see environmental related news, you will come to know that scientists, they have already given lot of signals and warnings, basically red flags. They've already given lot of that now is the time that we should take control of the environment. All right. Otherwise, it is not going to be easy. We think that it is easy. No. You know, religion and other things, if there are terrorist activity or something that happens, they cannot end the civilization. But if there is climate change and environmental damage that is happening at the rate that is still going on, within 200 years you will be seeing the consequences. So many reports says that at in the year 2050 only you will not be able to see the environment the way we see it right now in 2021, because the pace with which everything is happening is changing it. We are not noticing it, but we are able to see the results of it. So this is a very, very important issue. In fact, I consider this to be more important than any other issues. See, Islamophobia, Islamization, economy, all these things are very small. They can be taken care. Even if the economy becomes zero now, nothing will happen. But if the earth goes back to its previous state and there is no life, you cannot do anything about it. That is called a real threat. That is called a real threat. Okay, so with this note, I'm going to start. See, these are the topics that we had to cover in international affairs. We did finish with this. Issues that currently engage, we did do that also. Security Council, structure and role, we finished with that. Okay, I think these are almost similar topic, but this is related to security. Okay, now conflicts and issues of international importance. So we are on this topic, and in this topic, first was I finished with this, okay, last week, and the second topic that today I'm taking is climate change. All right, and the third topic here that I'm going to take will be related to economy. Okay, let's move ahead. Now you see a picture on the screen. All right, so this picture is telling you very clearly that the climate risks and the extreme events and what are their related impacts. Okay, if you see, you will get to know that the first yellow colored pie in the circle, it says 820 1 million. There are undernourished, uh, or you can say which do not get proper food. Undernourished means they don't get proper food. This one, I'm talking about this one. All right. So that means why? Because of drought. And why these droughts are happening? It's all because of the change in the climate. Earlier, droughts and floods were not such a frequent events. Now it has become so, like every year, some place or the other, they are having drought or floods. Now with so much of technological advancement, why do you think we cannot take care of droughts and floods? Why? I would consider that first we should have taken care of these things and then gone for technology like iPad, iPhone. All these are later. They come very later. First is take care of those people who are starving. There is so much of imbalance. One side you see people who are having iPhones, iPad, or big screens in their houses, duplex houses, villas and all. And on the other hand, you see those people who don't even get food to eat for even once in a day. So this imbalance has to be curbed. What is WMO? WMO is basically World Meteorological Organization. All right. World Meteorological Organization. All right. So this chart is given by WMO. So second you see, we'll go clockwise, huh? So second you see here, 35 million people are affected by floods. So similarly, flood and drought, they are very, very, uh, you know, major factors that affects the global population. Okay. Now, if we see this ocean acidification. Now you will be wondering what is ocean acidification, and it is an ongoing process. Can anybody tell what is ocean acidification? It's basically, if anybody can tell, so see, basically when carbon dioxide,
Absorbed
anybody,
by seawater.
pardon, bacha?
And when carbon dioxide is absorbed by seawater.
Yes, exactly, exactly. So, is there any science student who has taken, BAMMC? Because there are certain science students also, they switch to this eh, mass media communication. So, they must be aware of this, that carbon dioxide has to play a major role, you know, it when there is lot of carbon dioxide in the air, so there are oceans, and then this carbon dioxide is absorbed by the water, sea water. Okay, that is where chemical reaction occurs. Okay, and that carb reaction reduces the pH level of the seawater. When the pH level of the seawater is reduced, it becomes acidic. Okay, so what is the most neutral thing? Water is the neutral object. It has pH value of, can anybody tell? You know what is the pH level? So it is basically a way to measure the acidity or alkalinity of any object or of any liquid. Okay, the pH level of water is neutral. That means it is in between. Okay, are you getting my point? So it is basically जो हम लोग पानी पीते, that is around 7 के around. Okay, pH level. So if it goes, there is a chart like 0 to 14. 0 to 14 ऐसे होता है, ठीक है. एंड वाटर का जो है pH लेवल इज इन बिटवीन. सो दिस इज कॉल्ड न्यूट्रल. ठीक है. अगर ऊपर जाता है तो इट इज एसिडिक. अगर नीचे जाता है तो इट बिकम्स एल्कलिन. So when ocean acidification is happening, it reduces the pH level and the ocean level becomes acidic. And you know what is acid? Acids are not good for, can you put your hand in an acid bottle? No. So when ocean का acidification हो रहा है, तो you can imagine what will happen. अच्छा, एक काम करके देखना. एक जार लेना, उसमें वाटर डालना, and then put some drop of sulfuric acid. ठीक है. अच्छा, अगर तो आपके पास कोई फिश है या कुछ है, उसके अंदर आपके अंदर फिश पड़ी हुई है, उसमें आपने अगर 1 या 2 ड्रॉप भी सल्फ्यूरिक एसिड डाला, you will find that this small fish will die. That means this is acid. When we are adding acid to the water, the sea animals, sea creature, fish, dolphin, whatsoever, they will not be able to survive. So this is very important. Don't think that this is a small thing. Ocean acidification is going to harm everybody, because अगर एक जगह पे imbalance हो जाता है, everybody is impacted because of that. When there are less of sea creatures, they also have their role in the sea ecosystem. They use the oxygen of the water. They eat the dead plants, and they eat the so many things in the ocean. That is how ecosystem is maintained. But once acidification starts, their sea creatures, their ratio will be reduced, and it is going to harm even us. And we should never think that these people who are affected by floods, the sea creatures who are affected, the people who are affected by drought, we are not affected. No. Slowly and slowly it is going to reach everybody. The impact is already seen, but it can reach us also. Now, moving forward, I'll clear all these ink marks so that I can write more. Now, fourth one. Okay. uh, One second. Climate change threatens the peatland systems also. Now you will be wondering, what is a peatland? What is peat? Peat is basically a brown type of deposit on the soil. Okay. Whenever throw some decomposed waste on the soil and in the wet acidic condition, so that time that brownish type of thing that comes out, it is called peat. Okay. And peatland basically includes all those places where um, you know you know which do not have uh, what do you say, uh, peat is basically mire, and peat land basically where these type of things are not taken care because of the climate change. जहाँ पे भी ये brownish type of material accumulate हो जाता है ना, so it hampers them also. Now peatland is basically very good, but when it gets destroyed because of the climate change, it affects the adjoining areas. So that is what it is. Peatland ecosystems, they are very good for agriculture. They are good for forestry. Okay. And they are also good for excavation of energy and heat generation, and also for horticulture. So when they are hampered, all these things are they get affected. So what is peatland ecosystem? Basically, uh, जब ये मायर प्लांट्स होते हैं ना, दैट मायर प्लांट्स, वहाँ पे एक्सेस वाटर होता है. मीन्स वो वेजिटेबल का जो भी ब्राउनिश होता है, दैट एंड प्लस वाटर. सो देन what happens is there is a decomposition of the dead remains. When this decomposition happens, there are a lot of nutrients that are released. Okay. uh, which is when these nutrients are released, and whatever the outcome is, that thing is called peat, and is very good for many things, for agriculture, forestry, horticulture. So this makes peatland a very important ecosystem, and climate change is basically affecting these peatland ecosystems. All right. So in terms of that, we have to consider peatland also very important. So these are few new things that you must have learned. Because drought and flood is something which is very common. You can say very easily, you can say these things affect the climate, are due to the climate change. Whenever you have to, for example, you student, as a media student, you have to talk on environmental issues and all. So these terms you should be ready with. When you have got extra gyan, and when you talk about thing, you generate a wow factor. Everybody will listen to you in awe. All right. Now moving ahead, this is 1600 deaths associated with the heat waves and wildfires. So when there is a climate change, sometime what happens, there are fires in the um, jungles, or like you must have seen Amazon fires, fire in the rainforest, right? So how does these things happen? They happen because of the heat waves. All right. It is not that somebody has put a lighter or something and then they have put these fires have got started. No, these happen because of the heat waves. When the dried leaves, they rustles and touch each other, sometimes sparks are generated. And then, because whole of the forest is, they are side by side, all the trees are, so congested, the fire spreads very quickly. But why heat waves they are there? Because of the global warming. All right, that all these rainforests, they are near equator, so you can imagine how much uh, warm these areas are. These areas are warm also, plus they have got a lot of rain also. But just in case rain stops for a small time, there is storms of heat waves. So when they, you know and rainforest, in just in case the rain stops because of certain reason, and it is also because of the imbalance, climate change. So when they stop, suddenly the heat waves, will be there, and there will be wildfires. Okay, now moving ahead, uh, 8,83,000 internal displacements happens every year due to floods and drought. So उसमें से 32% is because of the flood and 29% is because of the droughts. So you can see internal displacement is something like people moving from here and there. All these are happening because of one thing I'm telling you, and that is climate change. All right. Now, global ocean oxygen decreases in global oxygen continues. Now, oxygen is something which is present in the air also, and oxygen is present in the, suppose this is a pie chart that I'm making for you. This is air, because air is a mixture. You know that air is a mixture of gases. इसमें से this is the composition, if this is the whole pie, this is called a pie chart. Always remember that whenever we get a chart like this where the circle is formed and the ratios are given in this form, that is called a pie chart. Okay, so out of this big lot, which gas is it is? Who can tell me? 71%.
Nitrogen, ma'am.
Yes, nitrogen. And nitrogen is basically a inactive gas. ठीक है? Now, which is this one? 28%, 21%. I think this is 78%, if I'm not wrong. Can anybody check Google and tell me, is it 78% or 71%? And then this is other gases. All right. So this is oxygen. 21% is oxygen. Now oxygen is present in air also, and oxygen is present in the ocean also. You will say how oxygen is present in oxygen, ocean, because H2O, water, is formed of two molecules of hydrogen plus one oxygen. So because of the imbalance, now the oxygen level in the ocean is decreasing. All right. So because of lot of rubbish and garbage that is thrown in the ocean, the sea animals, they are also dying because of that, because they are getting suffocated there. So when sea animals, they are dying, they are not able to maintain the balance of the ocean ecosystem. So whenever there is a balance the oxygen level is decreased. And when oxygen is decreased, sea animals, what they do, they take oxygen from the water. See, हम लोग क्या करते हैं? We take oxygen from the air, isn't it? We breathe in the air. But sea animals, how do they get oxygen? From the water. So when this oxygen is getting reduced because of the garbage and other things and many other things that we are doing to the sea, so sea animals, they are not able to get enough oxygen to breathe, and they are also dying. So this is also a very serious threat due to climate change. All right. So this is how it is. And now we are moving to the next topic. And this is 2 million people are displaced by weather and climate linked disasters every year. All right. So this is how we have come full circle. We talked about everything that is happening because of the climate change. If you want, you can take this, take a screenshot of this, because you know how it will help you. For example, if you have to talk about climate change, if you have a group discussion, so you will have these points handy. You know that you have to talk about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8 points will be there in your mind. Now it is up to you how you are going to, elaborate these points. Once you are talking about peatland, describe what is peatland, then what is ocean acidification, how it is impacted by the climate change, what are the consequences. So this is the way, you can have your uh, mind map ready for the presentation or group discussion or public speaking whatsoever. Because you are in media, you have to have these things handy in your mind. Okay, now let's move to the next slide. Okay, now here I have a video that I have to show you, so that is why I have kept this link here. Now these are the cuttings that I have taken from the site, and if I'm not wrong, I did tell you about there is a site called http, I think /un.org, and I want that you should, subscribe to this. I think subscription is free. So anything related to the United Nations news, first hand news, not from any other media houses, first hand news, whatever is published, it is published in this site. Okay, so you will get all the news, the correct news on this website. So I have taken all these pictures from there only. Now 13 climate action, take urgent action to combat climate change and its impact. So what is their goal this month? Goal of this month is climate action, take urgent action to combat climate change and its impact. So that means every month, whatever is their goal, they keep this on the main page. All right. Now, uniting the world to tackle climate change. So COP26 UN Climate Change Summit, the latest round of global climate talks takes place from 1st of October, 31st of October to 12th of November in Glasgow. All right, in Glasgow. Okay. United Kingdom, thousands of government delegates and people from civil society, business and the media will gather to advance climate action. All right, so let's move ahead. Okay, before we move ahead, I have to show you this video. 1 second. I'll have to remove this and put my mouse here. Just give me a moment, huh? I'll just show you this video. This is UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, and I'm going to just show you this video. And anybody can, unmute. One of you can unmute and tell me whether it is visible or not.
Excellencies, ladies and
Yes, ma'am.
gentlemen,
Okay.
nature is angry, and we fool ourselves if we think we can fool nature, because nature always strikes back, and around the world, nature is striking back with fury. Consider the last few months. July, the hottest
Ma'am,
months
the
ever.
voice is echo.
June through August,
Okay,
the
one
hottest
second.
summer
One
in the
second.
northern
I'll
hemisphere
just.
ever, and the
What
second.
happened, beta?
And the voice is getting echo.
Okay, one second. I will stop my. I'll go to the meeting.
Second hottest winter in the southern hemisphere ever. The years 2015 to 2019, the 5 hottest year on the books ever. Our warming Earth is issuing a chilling cry: stop. If we don't urgently change our ways of life, you jeopardize life itself. Look around. Seas are rising and oceans are acidifying. Glaciers are melting and corals are bleaching. Droughts are spreading and wildfires are burning. Deserts are expanding and access to water is dwindling. Heatwaves are scorching and natural disasters are multiplying. Storms everywhere are more intense, more frequent, more deadly. I've seen it with my own eyes, from Dominica to the Sahel to the South Pacific. In May, I went to the island nation of Tuvalu, where I witnessed an entire country fighting for its very existence against the rising seas. 2 months ago, I visited Mozambique, which was pummeled by unprecedented back-to-back cyclones. A few days ago, I was in the Bahamas, where Hurricane Dorian pounded the country for 2 unrelenting days. The destruction was not simply appalling, it was apocalyptic. Make no mistake, when we see those images, we are not just seeing damage, we are seeing the future if we do not act now. Dear friends, someone asked me the other day, doesn't all of this make you despair? My answer was a clear and resounding no. I am hopeful. And I am hopeful because of you. This is not a climate talk summit. We have had enough talk. This is not a climate negotiating summit because we don't negotiate with nature. This is a climate action summit. From the beginning, I said the ticket to entry is not a beautiful speech, but concrete action. And you are here with commitments. Governments are here to show you are serious about enhancing nationally determined contributions under the Paris Agreement. Cities and businesses are here showing what leadership looks like, investing in a green future. Financial actors are here to scale up action and deploy resources in fundamentally new and meaningful ways. And coalitions are here with partnerships and initiatives to move us closer to a resilient, carbon-neutral world by 2050. I'm very grateful to the leaders and members of the 9 wide-ranging coalitions that worked with great creativity and passion so that we can all get the most out of this summit. And young people, above all, young people are here providing solutions, insisting on accountability and demanding urgent action. They are right. My generation has failed in its responsibility to protect our planet. That must change. The climate emergency is a race we are losing, but it is a race we can win. The climate crisis is caused by us, and the solutions must come from us. We have the tools. Technology is on our side. Readily available technological substitutions already exist for more than 70% of today's emissions. And we have the roadmap, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the Paris Agreement on climate change. And we have the imperative, undeniable, irrefutable science. The best science, according to the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, tells us that any temperature rise about 1.5 degrees will lead to major and irreversible damage to the ecosystems that support us. But science also tells us it is not too late. We can do it. Limiting warming to 1.5 degrees is still possible. But it will require fundamental transformations in all aspects of society. How we grow food, use land, fuel our transport, and power our economies. We need to link climate change to a new model of development, a fair globalization with less suffering, more justice and harmony between people and planet. Dear friends, there is a cost to everything, but the biggest cost is doing nothing. The biggest cost is subsidizing a dying fossil fuel industry, building more and more coal power plants, and denying what is plain as day, that we are in a deep climate hole, and to get out, we must first stop digging. After all, it is common sense to give is it common sense to give trillions in hard-earned taxpayers' money to the fossil fuel industry to boost hurricanes, spread tropical diseases, and heighten conflict? Is it common sense to build ever more coal plants that are choking our future? Is it common sense to reward pollution that kills millions with dirty air and makes it dangerous for people in cities around the world to sometimes even venture out of their homes? It is time to shift taxes from salaries to carbon and to tax pollution, not people. Chers amis,
friends, the scientific community reminds us time and again that at all costs we must reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 45% by 2030. We must achieve carbon neutrality by 2050, and we must limit the increase in the global temperature to 1.5 degrees by the end of the century. Strong acceleration in our climate financing is therefore necessary. It is therefore essential that we reconstitute the resources of the Green Climate Fund in the same way that it is essential for developed countries to respect their commitments to mobilise $100 billion a year in public and private funds by 2020 to support developing countries in their efforts for climate mitigation and adaptation. Because even if we succeed in reducing emissions, the drastic effects of climate change are already with us, and adaptation has therefore become an absolute priority and a sine qua non in increasing the resilience of countries and communities and avoiding human suffering. I thank the countries who have already made their commitments, in particular those who have doubled their contributions to the Green Climate Fund. I call for your bravery. Let us move towards a global transformation of financing, a financing that is compatible with a carbon-neutral world. Friends, this summit cannot resolve all of our problems overnight, but it should give the necessary stimulus for us to actively implement the Paris Agreement's objectives. The momentum that we create today should also feed the future meetings that we have, the United Nations Conference on the Climate in Chile later this year, and then next year, the Conference on Sustainable Transport in Beijing, the Conference on Oceans in Lisbon, the Conference on Biodiversity in Kunming, and the Nature Summit in New York. Let us not be scared of being ambitious. Let us not be scared of applying pressure, and let us not be scared, above all, of constantly reminding ourselves of the truth and the reality of the situation. Let us turn to political leaders and to those actors and give them the following message: the transfer towards a green economy will lead to better living conditions and better employment and better health, better food security and greater equality, as well as sustainable growth. If we move together, nobody will be left behind.
Science tells us that our current path, we face at least 3 degrees Celsius of global heating by the end of the century. I will not be there, but my granddaughters will, and your grandchildren too. I refuse to be an accomplice in the destruction of their own and only home. I will not be a silent witness to the crime of dooming our present and destroying their right to a sustainable future. It is my obligation, our obligation, to do everything to stop the climate crisis before it stops us. Time is running out, but it's not too late. So let us heed the calls of wise leaders, religious, business, and especially young people who are taking to the streets to demand that we change our relationship with nature now. Let us lace up our running shoes and win the climate race for us all. Thank you.
So this was the speech by Antonio Guterres during Climate Action Summit. All right. So we'll take a break of 10 minutes and I'll see you at 9 o'clock sharp. We'll continue with the same topic. All right.